All right, welcome back to Daily Standup. I just wanted to show my Rust microservice today. I basically spent like 2.5 hours on it last night, to be honest with you, and I was just stuck on just the strangest errors in this deserialization logic, and I'll kind of show you where I got with that. So the first thing we want to see is the logs here, or these print to console logs, and you can kind of see that functionally it's working, meaning that it checks the temperature and then makes some kind of logical decision based off the temperature. In this case, it's going to say it's too hot because it's exceeding 100. So where this is going to go in the future, just to kind of have in your head, is it's going to see if the temperatures that are being reported from my engine up to RabbitMQ, then being read by this service, if those temperatures are over a specific threshold, then I'm going to post a notification back to another queue indicating that hey, this it's too hot. So basically that's going to go here. So I basically had to what I was working on here is basically deserializing my RabbitMQ message to be able to get access to the actual temperature property on that data, on the response. And I want to caveat this with I'm not leaving it like this. I'm not leaving these unwrapped statements here. I'm going to eventually refactor that into the OK error setup. But just to see if this is going to work using this Deserialization JSON from string, I just did it real quick, and just to see if I could get that temperature value. So a couple things that I wanted to basically just talk through is just some of the errors that I was seeing. And I tried so many different just permutations of this, what felt like very similar logic, but I just got very strange errors. And admittedly, I think it might just be, it's probably just a me problem, right? Because I'm coming from, mainly a C# world, right, where any kind of serialization or deserialization, you typically will provide a type, right, that it'll deserialize into. You wouldn't really leave it. You're not going to really deserialize into generic objects, at least not really in C#. At least you typically wouldn't do that. So I started to go down the kind of the rabbit hole of creating my basically types, right, for the message that my RabbitMQ has, and this is coming from Mass Transit's RabbitMQ library. So it has basically some metadata attached to the actual message. So it has like message ID, request ID, a bunch of IDs, and then it has your message, which is an array of basically the message object. So in the message object for me is this engine model. So this has all the information that I actually want to consume in this, and then it has another one for host. So I tried making the type that it would deserialize into, because this is what I would do, in C#, right? Because you would have a type, you provide the type to whatever deserializer you're going to use, and it would just do it, right? It's not really overly complex in C#. But for whatever reason, that just was not working. I don't know if it's because I wasn't supplying the right types of these properties. I don't. They're all optional, which is correct, but I am not sure. So that was challenging, and I got stuck on that quite a bit. So you can see where I was going with this. Basically, is let deserialize engine equals result of type Deserialization JSON, and then it's this result type, and then I'm passing in the type, which is the message header, which had all this stuff here, which I thought was correct. And then I tried a solution that one of y'all posted on the comments was to use this from slice and then pass in the decoded message as bytes from the from this here, from the string. And then I also tried using this and then just as bytes as well, just to make sure. And it was complaining about this type not being correct. It would tell me that I needed to supply an error type, so I would do error, which I'm getting from here with Serity error. So I should be fine. But then as soon as I would try to compile this, it would complain later on that it was expecting a generic here. So I was very confused, and I just couldn't get past it, truthfully. And then when I finally got it to compile, it would fail here. So it would actually enter into this match statement, okay, and then it would fail as soon as it tried to deserialize, telling me that I had trailing characters. So the trailing characters, I thought, was due to not having all the types, not having all the properties defined. So then that's where I started to define all these, make sure I had all that set up, but it was still not, I wasn't getting past it. So I was just getting stuck on it for so long. And this is like hour and a half, 2 hours in. This is way longer than what I wanted to spend on just trying to deserialize a message, which should not take that long. So a lot of digging, a lot of earthings, and I basically found an alternative, and somebody posted on some forum somewhere to use the same Serity JSON, but then just do from string and then pass in my string, but not as bytes. And then they said to unwrap, but again, I'm going to change that to do OK error, and I think that should get me by. It might still complain about the types, but I'll have to see. And then so that gets me the objects, and then I can call this get mute, mutably index in a JSON array or map. So I can pass in the index and it'll give me the value. So I had to, again, because it's a nested objects, I had to step into the message part of it and then step into the temperature to get the value. And that got me the value 600. So I guess it's treating it as a generic, right? So it's just whatever this value type is, and then I can just provide the key essentially, right, for the map, and then it will give me the value. So that's the only way I got this to work. And I was on so many documentation sites for library Rust telling me to use like this crosstown bus library for connecting to RabbitMQ. I followed all the steps, and it just doesn't work. I don't know, and I don't know enough about it to problem solve. But the problem is the docs was a super old version of the library, so I had to update to the newer one. And the newer one didn't have a method that the other one was calling, and the method, I don't know what the alternative was. The syntax was different, and I literally found next to no information at all on whatever this crosstown bus library is. It had a lot of downloads, but I just couldn't find any information, and I was not getting anywhere. I tried to look at there's like next to no YouTube videos on RabbitMQ in Rust, which is problematic. The ones there are, there's so much code. It's just, I feel like the amount of time it would take for me to type that up would be so long, and I just feel like I would put a lot of time into basically copying the code and it wouldn't work. So I don't know. And then I finally stumbled on a Stack Overflow forum post, but it was like it was like pretty buried in search, and somebody just said somebody suggested that they were able to do it with this, not from RabbitMQ, but just from a JSON string. So I don't know. I'm like, because the RabbitMQ library that I found, the Crosstown Bus one, basically gave you deserialization out of the box, which was nice. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. It was basically like you just provide your RabbitMQ string and like some other things about the actual queue name and stuff, and then you provide a type to deserialize, and then I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. But I could not get that to work at all. It was giving me so many errors. I imported everything. I had all the dependencies, but the method that it was telling me to use was like, well, one, it was non-existent, but two, it just I typed in the alternative to what like it sounded similar, and it was just nuts. It wasn't. I was getting nowhere. I'm like, this is craziness, man. So I don't know. So eventually, yeah, I'm just settling with this. If there's a better way to do this, I mean, let me know. But obviously, again, I'm changing the unwraps. I'm not going to leave it like that. But essentially, this deal here is basically, I'm just going to leave it as that. Just I'm not going to try to deserialize it into an explicit type, I guess is what it comes down to. So I guess I got to reorient my thinking and not want to provide it a type. I'm used to types. I work in TypeScript. I work with C#. So, but yeah, that's kind of what's happening. So I got it to work, and I guess that's the moral of the story. So you can see like the data that comes back. So the data I actually need is way in here in this message. Property, and it's all this stuff, right? So a lot of data, but it's really fast. I had it running. You can see the logs there. But yeah, that's where I was at with this. So yeah, again, real weird. I'm just struggling to find a lot of resources on RabbitMQ being used specifically in Rust. I'm finding, and the ones I'm finding are very, very. They leave a lot to be desired. So once I get this up and running, I'm hoping to make a write-up on my Medium that I can just post for myself to have reference to, but hopefully to help others out if they encounter, wanting to use RabbitMQ with Rust, just kind of in a lightweight approach. I don't mind using libraries, but when libraries are super undocumented and it takes you end up spending more time figuring out how to implement the library as it would, and it takes the same amount of time as if you just, didn't use it. It's kind of, I was struggling to find an incentive to continue to figure out how to use that library. So, and I don't know if it's maintained anymore. I have no idea. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Again, I got to go through all this. You can see I left this code in on purpose just to remember all the steps I was at. I forget if I did tried anything else. This is just my notes from trying to learn the language. But yeah, I guess I can get rid of these types, these structs. So, yeah, I don't know. But the next part of this is going to be implementing, I guess I'll add a to-do, this part here, send message to notifications queue. So we got to make the queue, and then we got to send the message from Rust to there. So I'm just waiting to see what errors I encounter trying to post a message to a queue. I really hope I don't, because I think the code I looked at initially is basically just built on this. Because I've already declared the queue, but I don't know. I'm sure I'll end up in another rabbit hole trying to figure out this. But once I have it and it's functional and I can actually show a working example, I'm for sure going to write up all this in some kind of documentation, probably on my Medium. My Medium is free. I'm not going to put it behind any like paid thing that's crazy. So I'm just going to have this as well as this video. So hopefully, if I ever need to do this again in the future, I'll have this as an example, and then I'll have the write-up. So, yeah, but I feel like this is like trying to just figure out this Rust and also just this microservice has been quite time-consuming. Again, I spent a lot of time on this last night. I'm going to have a lot more content on this coming up in the future. But anyway, that's it for today. So, hope you all enjoy. And again, I want to say I thank you all for your comments. It's really helped me out a lot, just kind of learning Rust and things like that. So I look forward to just the continued interaction with everybody. That's been really cool to learn from other people and maybe learn from other developers and what best practices are and stuff, because that's how I get better, just learning from other people. And yeah, anyway, thank you all for watching and have a good one.